Good evening to all of you, and welcome to the production and performance of Sonja Hansen's Swimming in My Grandmother. Before we begin, I need to get a couple things off my chest, I guess, because this is a very different performance from probably anything that you've ever borne witness to. This is an Earth Systems senior capstone project. I know. Hold your applause. Which means that it is the culmination of 6 months of hard research and synthesis of all of Sonja's coursework. We've got a very special guest tonight, Richard Neville, Professor Richard Neville. And I do want to note that every time you all laugh, he'll add 1 point to Sonja's final grade. So, and if you laugh so hard you cry, he'll add 5. And then finally, once the show is finished, we'll finally be able to boot Sonja from this school. The other thing that I do want to say is you probably all got a pamphlet or a program when you got in. On the back side here, there's a QR code. We would really welcome you to fill it out to tell us about your thoughts. You can do it after the show, or you can do it during a boring part. I really recommend whenever Sonja starts ranking her favorite clouds. I tend to zone out at that part. Any time that works best for you. And then the last thing that Sonja wanted me to mention is, I know some of you might have brought some bras or undergarments to throw during the show. This is a family event. We're at Coho. We got professors here. We got, young children. So please take it easy. You can give those to Sonja after the show if you really need to. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our featured performer. She's been living out of Lake Log like a rat all year. Please give a warm welcome to Sonja Hansen, folks.
Thank you. Good evening. This is very exciting to have so many loved ones. That's not a joke. I love you. All in one place, all together. And when I have such an opportunity to talk to so many people at once, it reminds me of something that my grandmother would tell me. Who are you? And how the hell did you get into my house? For most of the time that I knew my grandmother, she had Alzheimer's, and so she was removed from reality. Lucky bitch. But because of her memory loss, I was able to learn how to reintroduce myself again and again. So my name is Sonja Marie Hansen. I was named after my grandmother, Marie. And I don't really know why. I know a handful of facts about her life, and so I'll share them now. And also I know the parallels of how they intersect with my own life. So for starters, I was born in the year 2000 in Sacramento, California. Sacktown. My grandmother was born in 1925 in the town Rapid City, South Dakota.
Rapid City! For real?
When I turned 13 years old, I began 8th grade. When my grandmother turned 13 years old, she started work as a child laborer in the psychiatric hospital of Rapid City. Yeah, we're getting fast. We're going. The show has started. So while I was learning pre-algebra at 13, my grandmother was assisting with lobotomies for rebellious housewives. Not exactly a fun childhood. But she did meet my grandfather in the psychiatric hospital. And I'm sure you're wondering, was he a doctor? Was he a patient? Neither. He was a fellow child laborer, a colleague. And so they fell in love in between work shifts, sharing a juice box and a cigarette. Because it was the 30s, what do you expect? Now, what else can I tell you about my grandmother? Well, when I graduated from high school, I came here to Stanford University. When my grandmother graduated high school, she hightailed it out of South Dakota and went to live in Florida to become an elder care nurse for an old man. And that made everybody in her little town label her as a hussy, because if you're a young woman traveling by yourself, then that could only mean one thing. You're loose, you're a floozy. But in that way, my grandmother and I are similar, because when I got into Stanford, no one believed that I could muster the wits to make my way into here. They said, Stanford University, that's the top university in the world. It's headed by a president who is the top neuroscientist in his field. He's doing groundbreaking research at the highest of academic integrity. But Stanford standards have obviously been slipping, much to our shared benefit. Grandma and I have been subverting expectations for a long time. So despite my grandmother's reputation, that did not deter Bob. He proposed. They had 2 sons, Scott and Chuck Hansen. Chuck Hansen, everybody. Yes. Several years ago, my grandmother died, and I know that that makes the effective altruists in the room pump their fists, celebrate in their seats, because they know that that means that there's one less mouth to feed in the world, and that's really efficient. So thank you for that, guys. Right. Enough about my grandma. I don't want to start the show like that. That sounds like I'm really obsessed with her. It's like I named the show after her or something. More about me. So it's been 5 years, and it's time for me to go on to my next step. It's time for greener pastures. Most of all, I'm not fitting in with the frosh so easily anymore. I ran into some of them in the hallway one time, and they said, "Are you 25? Because you're giving developed brain vibes." I turned 23 last Thursday. I know. And everybody in Kairos was like, "You are an elder. You bring so much confidence, so much wisdom." And if I am now the elder and I'm the wisest among my peers, I think that that's a sign to leave. So this is my ticket out. I've made agreements. As soon as I'm done with this, if I can get through it without crying, without stopping, then I can get my diploma. This is my capstone, and this is also a research experiment, as has been explained. There are QR codes on these flyers. If you could do the survey, that would be doing a real service for me. If you don't want to do the survey, well, I'll be back here next year to do the same exact dog and pony show. What else do I need to tell you? Just sit back and savor, really. Like, these guys are gonna add like a laugh track on after, so you don't even have to worry about like giggling or giving me a pity laugh or anything like that. So let's begin. So, when I tell people that I am majoring in Earth Systems, that I'm an Earth sister, I generally get this kind of reaction. "Oh, so you're the one who's going to save us from ourselves. Oh, thank God." And that's very flattering, but at the same time, like, bitch, you live here too. Why does this all have to be on me? I like how elderly people own the most wealth, most land, most capital, network, whatever. But they're like, no. We know that you just arrived here, but 23-year-old baby, we want you to be the one who steers this ship away from the iceberg. That's a lot. Sometimes when I tell people that I'm majoring in Earth Systems, they start to recount their environmental sins to me. the way that they trespass against Mother Earth. Like, they'll be like, oh, Earth sister, I've been bad. I've been naughty. And I say, tell me, my child. And they say, well, I eat red meat every single day. I say, for penance, I want you to plant 50 native trees, start taking the Caltrain to work, and institute a meatless Monday, and go in peace. And they say, thank you, Earth Sister. I'll probably forget to do all the shit you just listed. Or sometimes I'll run into a Stanford administrator, and they'll say, oh, Earth Sister, I've got something to confess. And I say, tell me, my child. And they say, well, my paycheck comes almost directly from Chevron. I'm pretty much a shill in the pocket of the corporate elite. And I say, you evil fucking bastard. For penance, I want you to do 10 Hail Marys, 5 Our Fathers, and divest from fossil fuels. And they say, thank you, Earth Sister. Yes, maybe in like 40 years when it's too late. And I say, that's okay. I guess I didn't want my grandkids to live to see adulthood anyway. But when people like confess these kinds of things to me, I think that they already know that what they're doing is wrong. But I'm not the climate police. I'm not going to be able to sniff it out of you. People expect me to be like, your light bulbs aren't LEDs. That's not a graduation present till afterward, much longer. All right. What else? I think it's hard to live up to the standard that I've set, you see, because I've always been a real social justice warrior, a real white savior type. Like, in the summer of 2008, my dad took my sister and I to the pool almost every single day. And this is where I learned some more lessons, okay? So at this pool, we had one aspiration, and that was to board this little yellow boat. So this boat was like that big, and it was tied down to the center of the pool with 4 ropes at each corner, all right? There were like a gaggle of assorted children, and we would work together to try to get on the boat. But the one challenge was 4 or 5 teenage boys would sit on top of the boat and tease us and taunt us, and if we got too close, then they would hold us underwater until we stopped wriggling. The boat didn't even go anywhere, but we treated this mission as serious as if we were storming Normandy Beach, about to liberate France from the fucking Nazis. But every day we would go home, exhausted, depleted, but never without hope. Because Audre Lorde once said that you cannot have liberation without community. And she might not have been talking about this instance, but it happens where it happens. So where they had strength, age, the high ground, we had numbers and we had heart. So one day, thank you. So one day, my sister and our friends are flanking them on the right. I take that as an opportunity to swim underneath and emerge on the left flank. While they're distracted, I get an arm up, and then a leg. And then I'm sitting on the boat. I wrap my little spindly Pinocchio legs around the boat and squeeze on tight. By the time I'm up there, they've got my sister by the armpits. They're about to fling her back in like a dead fish. And she goes, Sonja! She had a really deep voice as a baby. Sonja, don't let him take me! But I either couldn't do anything or didn't want to, and so off she went. So they diverted their attention back to me. They grabbed me by the biceps to throw me off. But what they didn't know was that I had been improving my hand strength by playing Nancy Drew Mystery Detective on Nintendo DS. And I had been growing out my baby fingernails. And so I'd grab onto his biceps in turn. And to me, this was a grown man, an adult, but he was probably like 14. And I start to squeeze. And 5 lines of blood begin to come. And once he starts to yell, I believe in mercy, so I let go. And 5 little C's have been imprinted into his arm. And I make eye contact with him and begin to lick my fingers dipped in blood. And he was so alarmed that he jumped into the pool water, thereby infecting the wounds, so I don't know if this young man ever survived. His lackeys followed, leaving the boat vacant. I looked down into the water. In swim diapers and water wings alike, my comrades have their jaws dropped. And I tell them this: the revolution has been won by the workers. The revolution has been won in bikini bottoms. And they scream and cheer, and they all board the boat, and they lift me on their shoulders. Yay, we'll never be hungry again. And we shared the boat as a common resource together, as it was meant to be. Now, I'm sure you're thinking there's got to be some kind of allegory here to our bigger social ills. But that's not my job to decipher. I'm just presenting facts. I will say this is the image I have in my head of what's going on in every Amazon warehouse in America. Thirsty. Little kids are afraid of climate change, with every good reason. When I was little, my sister once went to my parents' room in the middle of the night, crying, bawling. And they said, "Baby, what's wrong?" And she said, "I had a nightmare about climate change and taxes." It's valid. I think it's not only that kids are more anxious about it, but also parents care much more these days. Like back in my grandma's day, you couldn't go to your parents' bedroom and say, "Mommy, Daddy, I had a nightmare about polio. I had a nightmare about the Black Death." They'd say, "Shut up! Shut the hell up! Get back to your corner of the floor. Back to the mines with you." Kids back then, they'd get an orange and they would eat that for 6 weeks after Christmas. It's different these days. But to the children in your life, I tell them this: I am on the case. If every elderly person thinks that I can shoulder the burden of the climate crisis on my own, then tell the little kids that too. People ask me sometimes, "What do you do about the climate crisis? You know, you're preaching about it." Well, climate work is not easy. I try to reduce my consumption as much as I can, especially with fashion. So I often sell my clothes, and we've got this little spot in Sacramento. Okay, and here's what happens, because it really tears your ego to shreds. You show up and you've got your trash bag of Old Navy hand-me-downs. You come in there, and every employee is dressed so sexy, so hot, but also so horribly. They're wearing like a belt as a shirt, parachute pants, much like what I'm wearing. And then they've got all these ironic tattoos, like a tongue stabbing a heart, or like Mickey Mouse, and then like former Vice President Walter Mondale, like all around. And you say, "Hi," and they say, "Jesus fucking Christ." They're always hungover. Sonja. "Okay, we'll take these. You can go sit over there." And then they've got this wooden bench, and you go sit, and you let your little Pinocchio legs dangle. and you pick your belly button. And then here comes the really humiliating part. And I know about humiliation. I'm doing stand-up right now. They hold up your items that you were just wearing like a week ago, and they say, oh my God, Jessamine, look. I know. It's triggering my gag reflex. And they go through that with every single thing you wear. And then they're like, okay, you can come up. All right. Okay, so this evening we were able to find 2 items that we think are salvageable. And you brought in like 500 items. And they say, so we can offer you 30 cents in store credit or this middle finger. And you say, decisions. I guess I'll take the 30 cents. And they say, great, well, you get this middle finger for free, slut. Climate work is not easy, but that doesn't mean it's not worth doing. People ask me why I chose Earth Systems. And if you're a professor, a parent, a potential employer, I say this. Honestly, I chose it because I felt like the professors really care about the student experience, student well-being. They seem just pretty generally happy. So I like that. If you're not in those categories, I tell you this. In 8th grade, I had a blunt bang haircut, long shaggy locks. I always wore a big puffy raincoat. And I always had cold leftovers in need of a microwave to heat them up. So I would go to my 7th grade life science teacher's room, and I'd say, hey! And I'd go in. One day, I show up there, and I find my 8th grade science teacher and my 7th grade science teacher exchanging glances. They were trying to have a baking soda volcano of a different type. And I say, hey, what's going on? And they say, faculty meeting. And I was like, oh, can I still heat up my lasagna? And they said, Jesus Christ. Yes. So I'm standing there, I'm letting the little plate go around. And while I'm there, I have a few questions. What is earth science? Why do faculty meetings require so much massage oil? And what kind of earth science experiment requires you to stick your tongue down someone else's throat? These were questions I needed answers to, and I hope to seek them through my undergraduate experience. Reminder, please tip the lovely staff here at Coho. They were the ones who enabled me to have this event. They're working hard. And this event is very special to me because graduation's coming up. I know that many of you can't attend, and many of you are not invited. Forgive me, but I just can't have the same kind of shenanigans as I walk across the stage. Exactly. I love my cousins. Not in an Alabama kind of way, but although... I do have a couple cousins who want to be a little bit more than brother, sister, if you know what I mean. But that's not my story to tell. That is their incest baby's truth to own, okay? There will be another stand-up special 20 years or so. But no, I love my cousins. Every time we'd get together for a family holiday, we'd play tag. And our tag was especially manic, especially ravenous, because one person in particular always wanted to be it. That person was Uncle Tickle. And I don't exactly know how Uncle Tickle got his nickname, but I knew it was, you did never wanted to be caught by Uncle Tickle. One day, we're running for our lives, and we close a glass door behind us, and Uncle Tickle ran through it. And we turn around and we were like, holy shit, Uncle Tickle, are you okay? He had a huge gash on his forehead, blood running into his eyes. He was bald. And he staggered forward and he said, "You're it." And then we took him to the ER. My cousins were really great. They varsity athletes, played every sport in high school, opposite of my sisters. One time, my cousins took us outside, which was a mistake right there. My sisters and I weren't meant to be durable, like outside kids. And so my cousin got a volleyball and started to aim for his sister. These aren't the ones that are in love. And he's aiming for her and kicks it, but misses, and it's aimed for a statue. And it hits the statue's head, and immediately on impact, it was moving at such speed and velocity, and that the statue's head turned into sand. I know, it made me much more afraid of my cousins, because can you imagine if he had hit his sister? Her bones would just be jelly. My cousins took us camping for the first time ever when I was like 8 years old. And we went running through the woods. We watched Avatar for the first time. We went snipe hunting, which is like a make-believe chicken. But we also didn't have flashlights, and so we were running around at night looking for a snipe until one of us ran into a tree, and then we had to go back to our campfire and do something else, like play spin the bottle. I love camping. I think that camping is a major, like, unrecognized solution to so many of life's hardships. There's nothing like sleeping out on the raw ground to really make you grateful, just to bring you out of a funk. My parents were very anti-camping. My dad was like, ha ha ha, why would we bring all this shit out of the house just to bring it back into the house? Ha ha ha. His expression is pray for cable wherever we go. But I think that there's a lot of value in camping. Like, we've constructed all these barriers between us and the outside, but that's what we're part of. Like, that's, we're meant to be out there for at least like a little bit of time and to like have the sun and like, I'm going on a tangent here, but it's just because I went camping recently last quarter and found a place that really honors the true beauty of the squirrel. I was in Istanbul last quarter, and we went camping in Yedigeller in Bolu. And there were 2 restaurants in the whole park, both squirrel-themed. The first one was meant to make you feel like a squirrel. It was high up in the canopy of the trees. You look down at the forest floor. You got a fire going. You feel like you've stored up nuts for the winter. The second one was more of a homage to squirrels, more of a scary dreamscape, more of a fever dream. You walk in, and there's a giant mural of a squirrel bearing down on you. You go in a little further, and you find yourself in a taxidermied room with lots of little guys all around. Dozens of stuffed squirrels. And so I don't know if this was an Earth Sister Capstone project just gone awry, but it kind of gave me that feeling. That morning, waking up in Bolu, it had just started to turn autumn. And so all the leaves were yellow and kind of brown, and all my friends had left the tent, and so I was just by myself in Turkey. Not cool. But seeing all of this light coming through the leaves looked like waking up in a chandelier, which was really cool. And I had a lot of great experiences in the outdoors, harvesting olives and surfing in the Black Sea. It was a really incredible quarter. And also the people there, the hospitality, the generosity that you hear about is all true. And so to hear about the earthquake and its effect on Turkish and Syrian families has been very emotional for myself and my cohort. And so today I'm asking if you were going to pay $7 or $10 or $15 to see this show, to forward that to the earthquake relief funds. And so on the QR code, on the survey, there's going to be a link to places where you can donate. But yeah, I think that during my 4 months in Turkey, the resilience and strength of the people is very obvious, but it is going to take time and funds to help out for the weeks and months and years ahead. So thank you for considering that. I think that I've been lucky throughout my undergraduate experience to have been to many places that are very beautiful. Jordan, going to Chile. And one weekend, I went to San Pedro de Atacama with a couple friends. And that was incredible as well because my two friends fell asleep in our taxi. So it was just me and my taxi driver. And we were in this little yellow car, no other cars on the road. And all around us was this black, raw, earthy landscape with all these rocks twisting up into the clouds. And you have this big cerulean sky overhead. And so looking out the window, my taxi driver decided that now would be a good time to convert me to the path of Christ. And he spoke Chilean Spanish, and I spoke 3 weeks of Chilean Spanish. But I got the gist. Like, if I had grown up in a place like that, that's so magical, so the settings of so many like biblical stories, I'd believe in miracles and that kind of magic as well. Yeah, I think that coming from Sacramento, you don't exactly get the feeling that a divine creator created this as a paradise on earth for men. No, it's more like some place that you stop on the way to the mountains. That's okay. A lot of people did a lot for me to get to those places. And so in considering how to show my gratitude and appreciation as I close out my undergrad career, I started writing a routine for a striptease. It was tasteful. But I realized, no, Sonja, you did that for your high school graduation. Level up. Let's go. Pull it together, think it through. And so I thought, well, how about a song? Yeah. Sonja Hansen. Yeah, girl. Hey now, how now, look around you. Planet Earth is all about you. Don't be grief-stricken, don't be a chicken. Come on, kids, let's get kicking. The biosphere is pretty queer. It likes to have fun by going on a run. You think that's cool? Come jump in the pool. You think that's lame? Fuck off. Upside down and right side round. Sacramento is my part of town. In the summertime, the heat is so hot. It really makes me sweat a lot. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. What's that knocking at my door? Mass extinction of all life. Man, oh man, it's causing me strife. Hey, ho, what's up there? Giant hole in the ozone layer. But don't be discouraged, don't be dismayed. Plant a tree and you might get laid. Hey now, how now? Look around you. Friends and family are all about you. Don't give up hope. Just say no. You're at my show right where you belong. So I will end my climate song. Climate song. My climate song. My climate song. My climate song. Yeah. My dad is not clapping. He's thinking, fuck, 5 years of college just so she could write that song. Richard. How we doing? 2? 2 thumbs up? How many points am I having? 10? Oh God, guys, I've got like a 54 in the class right now. We gotta turn it up. Richard has been my capstone advisor for the last 6 months. Richard, I know, is on the edge of his seat. Richard wants me to pursue my dreams more than even I do. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. we have class, and Richard says, "Oh, Sony, you have a date with destiny." And I say, "Oh my God, when?" What is her story? I'm not even dressed. I didn't even know professors could do this. Yes. I have an interesting relationship with recycling. It was the year 2020. It was January. It was before. Lots of carefree touching of your face and of others, coughing into babies' open mouths. You know. Everybody was happy, except for me. I was sick as a dog. I was in my room, and I was wearing only my jeans, no shirt, sweating it out in my bed. I looked like I was on my way to an Abercrombie diseased model shoot. I was fine. I had friends bringing me drinks and meals and that kind of thing. So I just kind of slept through it. One day, I wake up, and I know that something has gone horribly wrong, or it's about to. Quickly, 2 options become clear. I could stay in my bed and shit the sheets. Or I could start my journey to the bathroom knowing that I would not make it in time and poop my pants in the hallway. Or a third option could emerge. Much like climate change, we can forge a new path. So with this in mind, I did the math. I had 7 seconds. The clock starts now. 1, I'm out of bed. 2, I take my rolly chair and fling it across the room. 3, I put my hand under the desk, reaching for 4, the recycling bin. 5, I put it on the floor with authority. 6, pants are off. 7. I began to shit wildly into the bin. If you had been walking down the hallway at the same time, you would have heard what sounded like a gallon of milk being poured into a plastic bag. Your nose would have told you otherwise. But I'm not even embarrassed by this story because I might not be a math major, humble Earth sister, but I did the math. I knew that there was no other way. I'm most grateful that my roommate was not there at the time. But I'm sitting there, I'm facing the door, and the doorknob starts to turn. And my roommate and I had the kind of relationship where there wasn't one. We'd say, good morning. We'd say good night. We'd say my sister's visiting. But we had never said, what are you doing? Shitting in our room. Until now. And I also didn't think to say, stop, don't come in, I'm changing. I just immediately made peace with it. So she walks in, bless her heart, she screams, ah! And she goes into her room. It's a 2-room double. Can you imagine if it was a 1-room? No escape. Yeah. The next day, I'm in bed, I'm watching Netflix, and I hear her start to come in. And I'm like, oh, I'm not ready for this conversation. I put my phone down and I pretend to sleep. She says, so, Sonja? Sweet girl. And I say, hi. Sorry about yesterday. I didn't feel so good. And she says, it's okay. I'm just really worried about you. And I was like, bitch, me too. This is new. I'm the one living in this body. But I didn't say that. So the lesson there is climate change puts you through challenges. When I was working on this show, I told people that it was an anti-nihilistic series of diary entries, ramblings, muckraking journalism. And my higher-ups said, great, go for it. More specifically, they said, girl boss, get it. Snatch that bread, go for it. Gatekeep, yes. And now I'm doing it. But it's really hard writing climate change jokes because it's much like jokes about math or reading. Only your professor finds it funny, and it's very hard to make it very cool and provocative. But this is the part of the show where the rubber hits the road, so stick with me. Okay. When my grandmother died, she underwent the time-honored tradition of cremation, much like many of my Scandinavian ancestors and all of my pet dogs. My dad decided that he wanted to spread her ashes in Hawaii, because as we've established, she didn't have a perfect, smooth life. If it started out with the psychiatric hospital, it wasn't all that better. So she really valued the years that she had spent in Hawaii. So he puts her in a little Ziploc baggie, and he puts that in a See's Candies peanut brittle box. And I know what you're thinking, single-use plastic. But the peanut brittle box had been reused, so, cancels out. So all the kids pack up, we go to the airport, we're getting through TSA, I get through fine, my sisters get through fine, we're putting our shoes and our belts on in that dehumanizing way. And I notice that my dad gets stopped. And they were doing like the close-up magic on his suitcase, and they're like, "Sir, do you have any illicit substances or hazardous materials?" And my dad goes, "Ha ha ha, nope." They take out the box. They open it up and they go, "Ugh! Sir, it looks like your peanut brittle is expired." And they go, "Ha ha ha, it's French! Specialty brand." And they go, "Oh my. You know, I consider myself to be a bit of a foodie. I really shouldn't eat on the job. But would you mind, what do you, and so I'm over there thinking, I'm like, what are they talking about? Why is Dad taking a pinch of... And then he comes right back over to us as if nothing. "What's our gate?" "Commit to the bit." We get to Hawaii, and my family loves the beach. Here's the usual. Dad will take this suntan lotion, and he just wants to be out in the sun and melt out there like a gelatinous cake. My sister, she has always really liked being submerged in dirt, sand, bark chips, whatever. As a little baby, we'd be like talking with somebody, we'd look over, and she'd be like in a like garden, like squirreling around in there. She'd take a little handful of dirt and put it down her shirt, like she just wanted to be coated. So in a sand, she'd be up in there. It's great. That's very Earth Sister vibes. My other sister, Bianca, she liked to snorkel. And so pretty much the whole time, she had this snorkel mask on, and she'd go, "Mom, Mom, 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 are we getting mac and cheese for lunch?" And me, I considered myself a poet. I considered myself mysterious, alluring. I'd go way out to sea. But really, I just had like a pool noodle with a suspicious amount of bite marks in it. Why did it always have bite marks in it? And my swim shirt. But one day, my family's all in the water. We're all together. And I knew that it was an emotional trip for my dad. And I think that at that moment, he recognized that his mother, her absence, and so it was so moving for him that he starts to say a few words to memorialize my grandmother. And he says, "Grandma was my mom. Grandma is now dead. And now it's time to spread her ashes." And hidden within his Speedo, who do we find? But Grandma. And he begins to shake her into the water around us, much like you would one of those cheesy little packages that you get on top of your pizza. Shake, shake, shake. Generally, you're on like some kind of dock or a boat or something when you're spreading your loved one's ashes into the ocean. You're not in there already. We were all surprised. Oh! Morgan was like, "My bathing suit feels funny." Bianca was still underwater. She comes up and she says, "Hey, who's feeding the fish?" And my dad looked to the heavens and he said, "Grandma. Grandma is feeding the fish." And we continued to have a beach day as normal. We didn't think too much of it at the time. I swam out there, and two things came to my mind. Number one, we shouldn't have done this. My grandmother kept me at an arm's length while in life, so that should persist through death. Grandmother and granddaughter should never be so close as to coat one's belly button. Later on, I think that the realization came to me that we shouldn't have done this to pollute the Hawaiian waters. Hawaii was illegally overthrown not all that long ago, you see. And to do this in a place where people work so hard to clean and preserve these waters. The harm has been done. Hawaii was stolen, overthrown, but that doesn't mean that we can't do something about it, that we can't fight for sovereignty and contribute to those movements and support Native Hawaiians who are working really hard on that movement. At the same time, it's in particularly bad taste that we left my grandmother's ghost on that island. That's like the worst Hansen you could be saddled with. Okay, this next part of the show you saw coming. Stanford University. You're testing my patience. I have to bring up that it's so embarrassing to go to a school that's still investing in fossil fuels. All these other ones have already divested. Princeton, Yale, Harvard, Cal, UC Berkeley. That's the school where my mouth breather dad went to learn how to read. So it's too embarrassing to continue to go to this school. I have, sometimes Stanford will say, well, how are we going to pay our football coach to lose every single season if we don't get this money? And baby girl, I don't know. But it's looking more and more like you're on the wrong side of history. Fossil fuel investments are tanking. Clean yourself up. Other times they'll be like, well, Trump University still invests in fossil fuels. Okay, why do we want to be associated with those virgins? I thought we were a hot girl school. But yeah, I think it's incredibly humiliating and hard to watch and... Wait, no, we're actually not going to do that.
No. We're contractually obligated to thank our sponsors at this point in the show. The Sonja Hansen climate comedy show End Fossil Fuels Now is proudly sponsored by General Motors, please don't laugh, Monsanto, and Cigarettes for Children. Sonja wholeheartedly thanks them for their participation in the show, and we hope to continue our relationship for years to come.
Let's pivot now. I watched this one stand-up comedian, and his name is James Gregory. And he said, I have been alive for a long time. And there are many things we should worry about. Weather is not one of them. He had read an article that August was going to be 2 degrees hotter this year than the year before. And he said, why is that even news? What's gone is gone. And any time between now and August, any one of us might be hit by a big old bus. James is an older fellow. I would not trust his advice. Because in my opinion, any time between now and August, he's on his way to a heart attack. James has not aged well. He looks like the inside of a grilled cheese sandwich. Trust my advice instead. I'm young, great metabolism, and I don't have a Confederate flag hanging up at home. Can he say the same? I'm sure you're thinking, Sony, we've shared some laughs tonight. We've had some great giggles. What are you doing after all this? What are your dreams? And I have an announcement, guys. I don't know what I'm doing next quarter. If you find me living underneath the school Phantom of the Opera style, say hello. Mind your business. I know what I'm doing when the internet falls and the robots take over. I'll be a wandering minstrel, going through the wastelands, sharing a song or a tune in exchange for a gourd of milk, a portion of loaf of bread. But it's interesting considering my future because I am about to have a lot more autonomy. And I feel like the structure of school has done me well for a long time. That kind of routine has been good for me. So what's my life going to look like when I don't have a Canvas discussion post due at midnight, post one and respond to two others? And on top of that, I think that I also worry about like losing this community that I've just started to get a hang of. And that's nothing to sneeze at, because in times like this, sorry. In times like this, you really need people to come around and support you. I had this one friend, and in our sophomore year, they would host crying parties. And I'd show up, we'd go to the basement of Branner, and just like on cue, they'd be like, okay, ready? And then cry. And it's funny to think about, but at the same time, you know, something sad would happen and they would schedule a crying party 2 weeks later. Because when you're running a 22 or 20 unit quarter, when hard feelings come up like that, it can feel kind of extraneous or like a waste of time. And so you feel like you can't pivot and really feel them in the moment, which is it's not anybody's fault. It's kind of like the structure and the expectations we're under. But it's sad, I think. And it makes sense also, like we're all experiencing this we're experiencing like this widespread like psychic agony, because any one of us has loved ones that could be hurt or killed by climate change if they haven't already. And on top of that, there's like this common sense of humanity, knowing that someone across the world is drowning or in a bad situation. Like, that's massive to grapple with on an everyday level. And we all kind of have to harbor this sense of apathy just to get by in our days. I think that, when I think of climate change, I think a lot of the water, because I grew up next to a river. And so thinking of dried riverbeds and drought and acidic oceans, those kinds of things come to mind. And I've realized that throughout Earth systems, I've learned a lot about watersheds and hydrologic systems. And while making this show, I had the recognition that I know more about water, where it goes, than I do my own grandmother and what she enjoyed, like for breakfast, or what her favorite subject was in school, or just basic pieces of information like that. And so once your family history is gone, it's not easy to resuscitate. And I think that some people are I think some people are able to like call on their family histories for strength, and it gets them through challenges, but not all of us have that. And so it's just kind of hard to be standing free floating with no real concept of what came before you, or like what, sometimes I feel like swimming out there in the water, I get like we were out there for so long in the waters with my grandmother, like the ashes. Sometimes I feel like I swallowed a little bit of that. So maybe it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Could I have some of that? Okay. Thank you. Are you doing okay? Could you just hold this for a second?
Yes, you turds. Sonja, my ashes were stuck in your body for 6 years.
No fucking way. Bye, Bianca. Is it really you? This is crazy.
Yes, it's me. And now that I'm finally back, I can say my goodbyes and go back to heaven.
Guys, this is the best fucking Earth Systems Capstone ever. We're watching my grandmother ascend into heaven. Wait. Grandma. Okay, before you go, okay, did you see the show? Like, what did you think?
Well, first of all, I don't know you. The Alzheimer's kicked in far before you were born. And the show itself, it was horrible.
What? I thrive off of positive affirmation. I need this. Well, okay, but what did you, like, do you have any, like, advice for me or my sisters or, like, the audience?
You want advice. You want advice from me. Okay, well, I have a question for you. Why are you doing all of this performative shit?
I don't know, like, I thought that this would be, like, kind of a funny way to do, like, the capstone, and, like, people seem to enjoy it, and, like...
No. Sonja, you are wasting these poor people's time. Look at this old professor here. Sonja, I did not grow up taking out and changing bedpans from the insane asylum in Rapid City for you to be a charlatan and whore yourself out on stage.
Grandma, that's not what I'm doing right now. That's for the after party, NOLA, 8:30 p.m. See you there.
Why didn't you're at this big university. It has resources. You have so much time. Why didn't you do something better?
God, I don't know. I'm a failure. 23.
They're there. I know things are fucked up. I mean, look at these people. But it's like you've been saying tonight, all night. There are great people all around you. They work hard, they try hard, they care about you. And yeah, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna fuck up because you're a Hansen, and if you don't get divorced at least 3 times, you're not even trying, right? And I know you're scared about what'll happen in the future, but to be honest, and trust me, I know this, you really can't tell what's gonna happen any years from now, even for a perfectionist like you. You just have to know you're never alone. You never have been, you never will be. And in big ways and in small ways, we're all supporting each other through this life.
Do you really believe that?
If it makes you feel better, sure.
I don't know what to say.
Say thank you, you fucking spoiled brat.
Thank you.
That's better. So, okay, now I have a real question for you. What have you learned in this so-called major?
Hold on. What I've learned from Earth Systems is that you do what you can today, and then maybe someday in the future, find yourself at the crux of a great issue with others who want to see change around you. You may find yourself with a solution in mind. You need to think 7 generations ahead. Think of all who would be impacted. You may find yourself in another part of the world. You may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. You need to get an electric vehicle Because as Stanford students, we're likely to see some levels of success. You may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife. Justice starts at home, and it trickles out to encapsulate our systems. You may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, let the flowing underground. Into the blue again, water flowing under, into the lifetime. Flowing underground. Everybody, thank you for coming. Xavier Martinez. Piano boy, Daniel Ben-Ami. My sister, Bianca Hansen. Sound engineer, Bailey Nicholson. Sound guy, Drew. Behind the cameras, Nate Blackburn. Andrew Pesa. Tony. And the staff at Coho. Yeah! I'm Sonja Hansen, and this has been Swimming in My Grandmother.
Water dissolving and water removing. There is water